What up? Today we're going to be starting a little mini series, mock draft Mondays, pretty much. That's what I'm going to call it. Pretty common name. I'm going to be honest. I'm not creative at all. Either way, we're today, or throughout this series, I'm going to do like either a mock draft reaction, or I'll make my own mock draft. But I'm not going to make my own mock draft every single day, so that'd get really overplayed and done. So today we're looking at that franchise guy, TFG mock draft. He puts a lot of work into this stuff, so I kind of like his analysis on these things. So. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a long video, as you can see here, so we'll go ahead and just jump into this. I will skip a little bit, just letting you know, because he does commentate a lot, which isn't a problem. It's actually a pretty good thing, but it's just a long video, so we're going to skip through that.
For the Chicago Bears. Now, I will say that this is going to be a what I would do mock draft, placing myself in the GM chair of all 32 teams, trying to make the best decisions based on those to fight the bounty, because we're not really willing to go down to
first
four
pick
with
he
the
does
Colts.
Is Bryce Young.
But we would still move
With
out
Oak
of
to
this
the
pick.
Texans,
This is what
I
we're
see
saying
now.
to the Texans. We would still move out of this pick if you don't want to make this trade, and that means you don't get Bryce Young. So what I'm going to say is just give us your second round pick, give us the second pick, and we'll make this flip. You guys can come get Bryce Young, which for the Texans is that impact star quarterback, the best quarterback in this draft, can pair him with DeMeco Ryans and make them a real team again. And for the Bears, you get that second round pick.
I have a big take on the Texans personally. The Texans they're definitely a good team. Or not, I mean, wow. No, they are in a bad spot. Let me just cut that out. The Texans are definitely not in the best spot. If I was the Texans, honestly, I would just personally look to maybe back out of this pick or something. I wouldn't move up at all. I'd probably move down from 2 and get as many draft picks as you can. If they were to take a quarterback this year, my opinion on that is they're going to be still pretty bad. They don't have a roster put together at all. So, in my opinion, I think you should trade your out of the ability to get a quarterback, or just take the best defensive player or offensive player, whatever you think that's not a quarterback, because quarterbacks equate to a lot of wins and more than any other position, obviously. So if I'm them, you're going to be bad next year. So why not wait, and instead of getting these A- prospects, get the A+ prospect next year in Caleb Williams or Drake May potentially. Either way, that's all I got for that. I'm going to stop interrupting so much right now.
Pick back, essentially, that you gave up for Chase Claypool, and you get Will Anderson. I think this is the best path for the Bears. It's the best path for the Texans. You're just giving up that one extra pick,
I definitely think
which
that's
is a small
solid
price to pay, in my opinion, to
right
get Bryce. And then
Heath only
Arizona's
trades
sitting there
a
like,
couple things for
shit,
that.
we thought we could get Will Anderson at 3. And this is an obvious trade down situation for Arizona. Likewise, I'm going to field calls, and I think those teams we mentioned, the Raiders, I think maybe Atlanta is interested.
I do think there's going to be a whole lot of trading
though,
up in this draft.
Is going to be very
especially with how
fascinating.
Anthony Richardson
coming up
just
to
performed at
this
the combine, how CJ Stroud performed,
the ownership
his passing ability
and
is
head
pure,
coach structure there.
According to what we saw at
Really
the combine,
getting
I really
tired
think that's
of
gonna
the
be big,
ring around the rosy quarterback rotation with these veterans.
They're giving up
Go get a young guy with this incredible staff. It's a great roster. I think they can afford to give up picks
along with
and get a high floor quarterback.
That's a lot.
That can not just give you a long term plan, but honestly make this a competitive back. I'd be
CJ
between
Stroud,
him and Will
yeah.
Levis.
I mean,
as tempting as Anthony Richardson's upside is, I have
Stroud
been
did
on the
show a lot
record
of
saying,
stuff this combine.
I love Anthony
he really showed
Richardson. There's certain teams where I would
his
take
passing
him
is really there.
over Stroud and Levis, but the Panthers
in
are
a
not
way,
one of
might
those
have
teams
shown
because
that he's a
he's
better
got to play
passer
right away. You are
than
drafting a day one starter
Bryce
here.
Young.
And to me, CJ Stroud, with his experience, his accuracy, his ability to get through defenses and run an NFL
Bryce
offense
Young's
right
probably
away,
still the better
it's going to be a
prospect,
great
but CJ
fit
Stroud's the better
here.
passer.
I can totally see CJ Stroud. And then the Indianapolis Colts, very straightforward. We are going to take Will Levis. Similarly, with what I said about Anthony Richardson, it's not that I don't think it's possible that he could come in right away and be a decent starter, but I'd much rather have him be someone that is able to sit and grow and be groomed before you put him in there and potentially risk, developing bad tendencies and losing confidence and the team losing confidence in him as well. We've seen that time and time again with quarterbacks who aren't
That's a good
ready.
pick. I mean,
so for me with
they need a
Indianapolis,
quarterback, and
it's Will Levis.
would I go
And
Anthony
do
Richardson
check out my
over
quarterback
Levis?
rankings video that I put out
Probably,
last
but,
week. I actually disagree with
pick your
where
poison at that point.
I guess good. Then the Seattle Seahawks at number 5 have a really interesting decision to make on do you draft Jalen Carter, who has now fallen to you at 5. and I think you do.
Yeah, that's.
I think
if he gets to 5,
Carter,
the Seahawks.
it's not that, like,
I mean, they.
He's a young kid. He made a really freaking stupid mistake.
They have not enough.
And
on
there are
their
risks that type of behavior will
team
continue.
as a whole. They're
But
kind of in that spot where
for
they just
Seattle,
have a lot of
they
missing
definitely are a
pieces
team, from what I've witnessed, that
that'd be
they will
great
take a
steal.
chance on a guy who has high. To keep doing this, Lions fans, just get used to it. Anthony Richardson to the Lions. An absolute perfect situation for him. If you're Richardson's agent, I'm telling him Detroit is the best possible spot you could go. And for Detroit,
yeah, I think that's.
I just don't get why some
That's pretty
Lions fans
good.
don't like this. Now, there is a contingent of Lions fans that are very
like you just
excited
said, I
about
don't
him.
see
And I
why
think
Lions fans
after
wouldn't like
that
this. I
combine
mean,
performance, that group is only going
Goff's
to
not gonna
grow
win you a
into a
Super Bowl.
larger portion of Lions fans that are ready
If
for
he
this
pans
pick.
out
But
Anthony Richardson,
look,
he
Brad
definitely
Holmes
could.
understands ruck out in the top 4 quarterbacks, right? And we still have a lot. This is all going to play out. It does
they're all-
feel like
all
they are
quarterbacks
leaning
are
towards
gone.
trying to get a rookie and not going the Aaron Rodgers trade path. Now, I'm still in the camp that Aaron Rodgers, reunite him with Devontae Adams
sense.
and go for this thing. You
I
have
think
free
that's where
agency
Rodgers
to
should go anyways.
patch up that defense. You have other draft picks to do that.
Just
I
107.
still think this is a good move for the
1-7
Raiders. This would
for
be
Aaron
a
Rodgers. That's
remarkably
interesting.
good offense. This would be the best group of receivers that Aaron Rodgers has ever had to work with. It's honestly an underrated offensive line at this point. So I still think this could work for the Raiders.
I do want to say I did watch this video earlier. I think it was Colin Coward on his show, The Herd. He was talking about how a team that's good anymore, there's like 7 or 8 spots that you have to be good in, and it's left tackle, weapons, quarterback, edge rusher, corner. I might be missing something there, but like he was saying, the Raiders are like sneaky good in that type of scenario. They have pretty much everything. I mean, weapons good, edge rusher good, left tackle Colton Miller's good. I might be missing something, like I said, but they're down a quarterback and a cornerback. They have the firepower right now to get both of those things, so I don't see why not. Like, go do that. I mean, this would get them a quarterback, and then Jalen Ramsey's probably going to go for a day 2 pick, maybe a little more. So I don't see why not at this point.
And when you lean full
Tyree
Wilson
Wilson, that
for
makes
Aaron
sense.
Rodgers, right? Like I don't think that's overpaying, even if he is 39 years old and he flirts with these
Tyree
retirement
Wilson's
rumors.
huge.
I still think you're getting 2 or
massive
3 years
human.
out of Aaron Rodgers,
He's
especially with Devontae
an
Adams there. So
athletic freak.
I
He's
still
gonna
like this
be
for the
really
Raiders,
good.
and I think it's either going to be
I
the
think
Raiders
he
or the
might be one of
Jets
those
or
who
the Packers
takes
ending
like
up with
a
Aaron
year or two,
Rodgers, but
and he might be
that's
just
going to be the move.
okay.
And then
He
for
might
Green
get
Bay, Tyree
7 to 10
Wilson
sacks
is their
a
type
year
of
at
guy.
best, but,
He
like,
is very similar to
after
what
that, I think
Rashawn
he's
Gary
gonna
was
be
coming out.
really
That
freaking
6
good.
foot on best player available, I think, with the defense. And for me at this point, that
Yeah,
is
their
Devin
defense is
Witherspoon. Now I haven't fully
Witherspoon
completed my
and AJ
evaluation
Terrell
on
would
him.
be
We didn't get to
nice.
see him run yet. We're gonna have to wait till his Illinois Pro Day. But you look at the press man scheme there. There are similarities between him and Marshawn Lattimore, with the Falcons hiring the coordinator from the position coach from the Saints. So they're going to be running a lot of that physical. Then the Arizona Cardinals at number 9. It is time to become more physical here. And I still believe in Kyler Murray. I think he's
So they
quickly
traded out
become
from
maybe the
3,
most
and now
hated
they're here.
on,
That's a
unnecessarily
steal,
hated
'cause
on
now they have
quarterback
next
in
year's
this league.
first
Let's give him a better
from
offensive line, a better run game,
whoever,
better
Panthers
protection,
they traded
and that's
with.
going to start with Peter Skoronski. I've said that there is
That's good.
value
I
with
like
Kyler
that.
Murray. If you can get shorter offensive linemen that are really good, I think that is
Skoronski
a
can play
benefit.
guard
So
or
whether
tackle, he can
he
really
steps in
plug
as a
in
guard
wherever
or a
they need
tackle,
him
he's
to.
6',
Christian
great value,
Gonzalez,
huge need with
I
those
mean, that's
corners
my
getting up
pick
there in
to the
age, and
Eagles.
James
If they
Bradbury
get-
hitting
if
free
they get
agency.
him,
So
he's
whether
gonna
he
be a
starts now
steal. If he goes to
or
10,
sits and
that's a
develops
steal.
for a year, it's hard to argue with this pick, honestly. It's going to be a common one for a reason. Same with the number 11 pick. This is the same one we had in our mock draft. 1.0. We're going to do it again
Paris
here
Johnson.
in 2.0. Paris Johnson Jr. Perfect scheme fit for what the Titans like to do.
Yep.
They need tackle in the worst way. They did end up cutting Taylor Lewan as expected. You just
With
plug
Lewan
in
gone,
Paris
it just
Johnson,
makes too
who's
much sense.
a
I don't see
freaky
any way
wide
they
zone
go
blocker.
anywhere else at this point.
So the run game,
they
honestly,
did.
probably takes
They
an
got
upgrade
announced
there.
today they are
And he's a
shopping
really good
Derrick
pass
Henry,
protector
and
as
if
well.
that
I'm
does
very
happen,
impressed by Paris Johnson.
maybe they go
Honestly,
another
he's
route.
probably going to come in ahead of Peter Skoronski for me, but the height thing is just a slight tiebreaker. I
Yeah,
honestly, in a
that's-
weird way, for Arizona,
they
I
keep
want to
with their,
draft
like,
shorter
main core
offensive
right now,
linemen for
they're gonna
Kyler
get
Murray.
Paris Johnson.
They're both very talented players, and they both, I think, end up in the right fit. Then the Houston Texans gonna stick with this pick as well.
Van
You got your
Ness,
quarterback,
he's
but
pretty
I am
huge.
also
And
very
if
concerned about
you
that
don't get a
defensive
defensive
line.
player
That D'Amico
in the
Ryans is gonna
first pick they
want
have,
those
2 or whatever they trade
pocket-pushing
for,
disruptor
Lucas
types.
Van Ness would be a
And
good grab
honestly,
here at 12.
if you're not getting Tyree Wilson, who better than Lucas Van Ness in this draft? He is going to be the perfect scheme fit there. Think about what the Niners did
Just
with an
obliterated
Eric
him.
Armstead. That is very similar to Lucas Van Ness. He can be that blow-up guy on stunts, that doubly physical. Then we got the New York Jets at 13. I think in this situation, they are probably the Derek Carr destination, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo.
Derek Carr went
so
to
we're going
the
to just
Saints as of
envision
today.
that being their free agency route. But Quentin Johnston is
still
going to be
think
my pick
they
here.
can get a
If you're going to
quarterback,
have a
whether it be
Derek
Jimmy
Carr
G
or
or
Jimmy
Aaron
Garoppolo,
Rodgers.
let's give him as much firepower as possible.
Him
And
and
Quentin
Garrett
Johnston
Wilson
is not
and
a
Elijah
perfect
Moore in the
prospect,
slot.
but when you think
Man.
about, like, for example, the Niners offense, which this is going to be a similar system with Hackett and kind of Saleh overseeing this Niners East organization here. Quentin Johnston isn't Debo, but he has similar like run after. Then we got the New England Patriots at 14. Look, I'm gonna ring my own bell on this one, toot my own
Whoa.
horn. I had, with the 16th pick in my first mock draft, Deontay Banks going
Joey
a
Porter
lot
Jr.,
higher than a lot of people
Keely
at that
Ringo.
point in time probably thought he would go. One of the first players I
missing
actually
some Cam
watched for one
Smith.
reason or another, and he is so talented on film. And then
think
he
he's
comes
the
out
one
and
that
runs a
was really-
4.36
yeah, he was
at
really
6
fast.
foot, 200 pounds. This guy's awesome. I haven't really dove deep into my cornerback evaluations.
I'm gonna be honest. I really
I'm not
don't
going
know
to
a
rule
whole
out
lot
him
about
ending
him.
up,
He's not a
up
guy
there
that
with Devin Witherspoon
I really
and
looked at too much in
Christian
my mock
Gonzalez.
draft preparation.
Honestly,
I looked at him a
and
little bit, but
this
not
is
enough
where he's
to
going to
know.
start going in mock drafts at this
If
point.
he's this
And
high, that's crazy,
A
though.
great fit for New England. I mean, Deontay Banks ran the entire package of coverages at Maryland, especially press man,
I mean,
and he's
if he
going to
does
thrive
that,
in
then
New
there's
England.
no reason
he will
he
be their
wouldn't be a
number
good corner
one,
in the
and then
NFL.
you. After getting Tyree Wilson on the defensive side of the ball,
This is the Packers.
the great
like, normal
irony,
pick. Like,
this
is the
team's
pick they
finally
have, I
going to
believe.
draft a wide receiver in the first round the year they trade away Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. I really think he is the type of receiver that
tested
Green
better
Bay
than I
likes.
thought he would.
Physical, bigger body.
Plus, he's
not
he's
huge,
physical, big
but he
body, like
clears
you
their
just said,
6 foot,
and then
height
he's
cutoff.
he's more.
And I think with Dobbs
I don't know how
and
good
Watson,
he's gonna
those
be
are
though.
more,
Honestly,
vertical perimeter winners. They do need a really good slot wide receiver. Randall Cobb
he'd be a
just can't
great
stay
slot to put
healthy,
in that for
and
sure.
It really does
Having Dobbs and Watson,
fit the system,
I mean,
fit the mold that
makes
they
sense
look
to
for.
go get him
That kind of
instead
tough
of like a guy like Addison.
outdoor football, Midwest. Washington, I almost said football team. Commanders at 16. We're gonna take Osiris Torrance. I
Oh
didn't
man,
love the DB
That's-
fits here,
that's
which
way
is kind
early
of my
than
biggest
I've
need for
seen
them.
for Osiris
And obviously the
Torrance.
quarterback
He hasn't put it
situation.
on the screen
Maybe
yet,
this
but-
is a Derek Carr spot.
I mean-
Maybe they are rolling with Sam Howell, but. I'm gonna address that offensive line that really
Yeah.
kind of desperately needs it. Torrance is an awesome guard prospect. He's gonna fit their system
Osiris Torrance is a
really well.
monster.
You look
He's gonna
at
be
Eric Bieniemy
good
coming
wherever
in,
he
what he's
goes.
done
Like,
with those
they didn't even put
bruising
anybody on him. They just knew
interior
they weren't gonna
offensive
get anywhere in
linemen
that flip. That's
with
funny.
their inside run game. Guys like Creed Humphrey,
54
and,
right there. I
Trey
mean,
Smith, he fits
he
the
just
mold
is a
there.
wall.
So,
He doesn't move.
we're gonna go Osiris Torrance out of Florida. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is
My
probably
team
the
right
most
here.
common mock draft selection.
Yeah,
out
okay.
there.
So I'm not huge on this Joey Porter Jr. pick. Like, it'd be great for storylines, and honestly, if he's there at 17, it probably happens. I mean, it just probably will. I don't dislike Joey Porter Jr. I think he's a good player. He'll be fine. But just personally, in my opinion, I think our tackle position is far more of a need than our corner. I mean, we led the league in interceptions. Pittsburgh did last year. You don't have just horrible corners doing that necessarily. I'm not saying that picks are everything. They're not. But you have Levi Wallace, Kelly Witherspoon when he's healthy. You have hopefully they bring Cam Sutton back. Cam Sutton is a free agent, but he's a steal of a guy if we get to bring him back. He's such a good corner, just solid. There's 3 guys right there that are very solid players. They're number 2 corners on most teams. So, maybe they're not number 1s, and maybe Joey Porter Jr. is, but I just feel like the tackle position right now is more of a need. But sorry,
Joey Porter
Get back to
Jr.
this.
It's just so perfect. It's like this was destiny, and I'm almost kicking myself. At 18, okay,
Lions pick
I've
2.
made some pretty out there picks for Detroit this year.
They took Anthony Richardson earlier.
Bijan Robinson is going to be
Oh,
the pick
man.
here. And look, I get it. You want
That's-
defense. A lot of corners just came
Yeah.
off the board, right? You could
I
go
think-
Cam Smith, sure, but there's still free
Jamal Williams is
agency.
a free agent.
Maybe you can attract
I mean-
a Jamel Dean. With these early mock drafts, people always forget that free agency exists, right? Like you could go out
right.
and sign
I mean,
Jamel Dean
Jamel Dean,
and
Jalen Ramsey's out.
say, Dalvin Tomlinson, and all of a sudden that defensive roster is looking pretty freaking spicy. Or maybe Marcus Davenport wants to follow Dan Campbell over. Like, that is an option. Maybe you bring in Jesse Bates. Like, there are options for Detroit.
There are options.
Now,
I mean, it's not like this
with
is
Bijan
the end-all,
sitting there
be-all,
at 18.
I just don't feel like they're in that much of a need. I mean, DeAndre Swift's a good
Richardson,
back.
blocked by the best offensive line in football and now one of the best run design teams in the league.
You got to
Tampa Bay at 19. I'm going to take Cam Smith.
Yeah,
I didn't
they're gonna lose
previously
Jamel
really
Dean.
view him as a first-round
they
guy.
maybe have
I
Sean
did
Murphy
not
bunting
see
and all
a
that, but
4.3, 740 or whatever he ended up running coming.
he ran a 4.37.
And
I did not
he
know that.
weighed in at like 180, which is fine. So I think he cleared some thresholds there. Physical player, tough guy, really fits the Tampa Bay mold. He's not Joey Porter, but I don't think he's that far off. So we're going to take Cam Smith at 19. Then the Seattle Seahawks at number 20.
Pick 2.
Talk about fixing that
I
pass
remember they
rush
got earlier.
overnight. We're going to take the story of the NFL
Oh, wait, they just got
Combine,
Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith
out of Georgia. Unbelievable.
That's
fit.
cool. He
You
played
are pairing him
crazy
back
at the
with
Combine.
Jalen
I mean,
Carter,
he
where they
went
have
wild.
great chemistry with
He's
their
small,
stunts and
but,
everything
like,
that
he
they
can
did there.
still do it, man.
You have 21st pick is forfeited by the Miami Dolphins for making phone calls. Then the LA Chargers at 22. I think if one team was disappointed by the Combine results, it's going to be Chargers fans, because you're looking at this like, can Zay Flowers clear 4.3? Can Jalen Hyatt show some great speed?
Yeah, they don't have.
It didn't really happen that way.
Speed wasn't there for
And
those
we've
guys
talked
who
about
were
the
expected
Chargers
to be
really
just
wanting to get that
blazers.
crazy deep threat. Now, maybe that means Hyatt could be someone they could trade for in the second round, or maybe even falls to them in the second round. But you aren't taking Jalen Hyatt. In fact, I don't think he showed. I wanted to see him come out and run 4.34, 4.35. Be that Branch sitting there with what this team values at safety. It is
Brian Branch can play.
Staley, Fangio
He could probably
system,
play corner too.
high IQ guys with cornerback experience. I still love Brian Branch for one of these quarters heavy systems. I think it's a perfect fit.
I think it'd be better to play him at safety.
It's
than
not a
next
good
to Derwin
safety
James.
class. They really need safeties. Nasir Adderley is a free agent.
Yep, he's a
and
free
even
agent,
then,
so he's
I want
gone,
Derwin
and there's no
James
reason to bring him back.
having the
Unless
flexibility
you
to come
don't
down
need
and
a
play
guy
in the
like
box
Brian
if
Branch
that's
or
what you
anything
want
else
to do.
and
So
through the draft.
this Ravens, they are going to take Zay Flowers, another team
They just
whose
need a
wide receiver
receiver. It
needs are
doesn't matter
well
who it
documented.
is. Get a
I
warm
think
body
Zay,
there.
while he might not be an elite vertical burner like he was hopefully going to show he could run at, he still is a greatly jumped Jordan Addison in Indianapolis. I think either is the type of receiver the Ravens need, and we're going to satisfy
Zay
the
Flowers
Ravens
jumped
fans
Jordan Addison.
first
That's a
for a
take.
wide receiver in Zay Flowers. Then we got the Minnesota Vikings up at 24. Jordan Addison's probably going to be a common pick here. That combine really scares me a little bit, man. It's not
He
that I
did run
wouldn't take
kinda
him here.
slow
It's
for the
certainly an
combine,
option, but
I think he's a guy that
you still
his
have
game
receivers on
speed's
this
gonna be a
team,
lot
and I
better
don't
than
know
what
if
it
you need
was
to
on
lock
the-
yourself
at the
into
combine.
Jordan Addison there when you still have players. And this is really a tough board for them to fall with all of the corners that have come off the board, because that is their biggest need.
He's
I'm
about to
actually
trade out.
going to entertain phone calls here for the Vikings. And one team that I would be really excited to trade up here is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who
Whoa.
have the 32nd pick in this draft from the Bears.
Is Broderick
And
Jones still on the board?
There's another player in this draft that makes a ton of sense for them, that fills a huge need, that would be a great fit, and that's Brian Brzee, who is very raw. He might not be a dominant player year one. He probably won't be, but he fits their system perfectly as that 3 tech. He is your
I wouldn't be
eventual
upset.
Cam Hayward replacement. So
Yeah, Cam
for me,
Hayward
you're gonna
replacement
move
for
up
sure,
here. You're
but-
going to give up an extra third-round pick.
third
And it's
rounder.
basically a first-rounder that they have, right? The 32nd pick
That's
in the
not
draft.
bad. I mean, compensation
And then
really, but
you're
like
also going to get a 5th-rounder back
Brian
from Minnesota
Brzee,
here, so
like,
it's a pick swap.
his stats don't stand
And
out.
then
He's
for
a
the
good
Vikings,
player. If he
I'm
could
still
just fall to
targeting a
32,
corner
I'd be
here.
happy. But
Because I really think that's something
It's
they
just-
need to come away with, is some man corners in
the-
this draft. That's another reason
at that pick with
I'd
Broderick
rather
Jones on the
apply
board,
this
I mean, trade up, sure.
capital
Get Broderick
towards a corner
Jones.
than a
We
guy
need
like
to
Jordan
tackle. I
Addison
mean,
for this team. So you're targeting guys probably like Stevenson
There's free
from
agency, though.
Miami or the Jags at 25. I love this landing spot. Kalijah Cansey.
He ran
He tested
fast.
every bit that you would
like
have
Aaron
wanted for a
Donald, too,
small guy.
literally.
I love the Ed Oliver comps. And, if we did a redraft, Ed Oliver's not going third overall, but you'd still spend a first-round pick on that guy. He just provides some juice and impact as a rusher that I still think the Jags need. I like the pieces they have, but I think you can continue to improve that group. And Kalijah Cansey's then the Giants at 26. This is going to be the Jordan Addison
is
spot.
there for the Giants,
I think he can play inside and out. I'm not trying to dunk on Jordan Addison. I'm just not as sure about him as I was before the combine.
Whether it be
I really
free
thought
agent,
he would
draft,
run
spending money
low
both places.
4.4s. I was hoping he would weigh in a little bit more like 180, 185, 173 is a little bit concerning, especially if he's only running a 4.5 at that weight. So he's a really good football player, and the Giants just need that at wide receiver to spice that group up. I think Brian Dable as well is a coordinator that has shown how to maximize guys' strengths. So for me, I'm looking best player available, and that's about Josh Downs right now. And I do think they need a little bit more juice at wide receiver.
He's high on Josh Downs. I've seen this for a while.
Dak Prescott, who likes to get the ball out, wants to let his playmakers make plays. That is the Mike McCarthy offense. He's always put a priority in bubble screens and letting the quick passing game
receiver
be a
two. They
feature
need it. They
of
do
the
need a
run
wide
game.
receiver too. I kind of feel like
they don't really have a guy like Josh Downs, who is
but
incredible with the ball in his hands, so crafty in the short game. But Josh Downs to the Cowboys. All right, the Buffalo Bills up at 28, and right tackle is just such a must-have draft need, and there's going to be some guys in this range here for them. I think it's very likely, that it's either Broderick Jones, DeJuan Jones, or Darnell Wright. And I think all of those would be great picks. Pick your poison there. But I think even though Broderick Jones will probably end up with my highest grade out of those players, he is more of a project than those other two guys. And I think with the Bills, who just kind of struck out on Spencer Brown, knowing that they need this guy to step in and be a good player right away, I'd be a little bit turned off from Broderick Jones, who I think his
DeJuan
lows
Jones definitely
his technique
does
and pass
have
protection is the worst out of those three. So
he has a lower
DeJuan
floor
Jones.
than a lot, and he is a project.
He is my favorite between him and Darnell Wright. Again, both very close,
I think
great options here. But you have a 6'5" quarterback, not going to have any issues seeing over that behemoth right tackle. And just the more and more I revisit Ohio State, the more I like DeJuan Jones' tape. I think there was this expectation that kind of a perfect fit here, because
Broderick Jones falls
you
to
have
the Bengals. I would hate that so
your left
much.
tackle in Jonah Williams. Do you keep him around long term? I don't think they will, especially because they're going to pay T. Higgins, they're going to pay Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
I think I had Anton
They're going to
Harrison
need
here,
some
maybe.
of these high
In my mock
paid
draft
positions to be replenished by rookie contracts. So tackle will make a lot of sense to do that. Also, Lyle Collins,
a guy they can't
I don't
pay.
even know if he'll be back next year. But Broderick Jones, I think, can start day one. You might not love. I'm going to take Miles Murphy here, who is definitely a player I'm a little bit lower on. And I actually, when I finished getting through his 2022 tape, I actually had a second or third round grade on him. I was just not impressed. I didn't get it. But I will shout out my guy, James Foster. I think it's at No Flags Film on Twitter. I could be wrong about that.
He's huge.
But posted a cut up from his 2021 film, and it just made so much more sense. And I don't know what the injury situation. Conference champion teams, the Philadelphia Eagles at 31. We've got a new player entering the first round here. Ade Tamiwa Adebawore.
This is the
Northwestern
dude that ran really fast in the 40.
Lit up the Senior Bowl. Forget the combine for a second. He
Senior
showed up and burst onto the scene. He might have helped his stock as much as anybody in Mobile, Alabama. Dominating pass rush drills.
Pick,
this dude put his name on the map.
I'm not saying he won't.
And then what he did this weekend in Indianapolis, if he doesn't go in the first round, his performance is at least worth throwing him in the back end of this mock draft to highlight what he did. But I am serious. This is the pick I would make. This guy ran a 4.49 40 at 280 pounds. He has cross chop moves on the interior. He's quick. He's strong. I think this is a first round player. And your Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs at 32. We're going to take a tackle here. We'll see what happens with the Orlando Brown situation. If they franchise tag him again, if he throws a fit about that, we'll see. But it's not just him. Andrew Wiley, their right tackle, who made himself a lot of money this year. He played pretty well, especially in the Super Bowl.
They did just
I don't know if they're going to be able to afford him either. Someone might view him as a starter and pay him
them all to be
2 years, $20 million or something like that.
Year.
So
I mean,
they need tackle help. Darnell Wright totally
fits
fits their mold. You can repair him with Trey Smith on that Tennessee offensive line at right tackle.
All right, well, yeah, it's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate y'all watching, and, that franchise guy, hit a subscribe on him. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff, and he really goes through with all this stuff. So definitely a guy who deserves to get his credit for his work. But thank y'all for watching, and peace.